Everyone dreams of living an uncommon life, and the best asset you have to achieve your dreams is you. Welcome to the Uncommon Wealth Podcast. We're going to introduce you to people who are living uncommonly. We're also going to give you some tools and strategies for building wealth and for pursuing an uncommon path that is uniquely right for you.
Hello, welcome to your favorite show, the Uncommon Wealth Podcast. I'm your host, Philip Ramsey.
And I am Aaron Kramer.
Thanks for tuning in. We have a guest for you today. Her name is Whitney Maxwell from Bloom Music Studio.
Yes.
She is a pianist. That's really what I just wanted to say. Like, she plays piano. Amazing. Let me quick do her bio because it's short and I like short ones. So after leaving corporate world in 2007, Whitney's path has taken her around the actual world as a dueling piano. What would you call yourself? Just like a musician. Mm-hmm. I would say that. And like the true musician of like, what song you want me to play? Boom, you're on it. That wasn't part of the bio. And she's her teacher and CFO. She also gives lessons. Welcome to the show, Whitney. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. It's so good to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, this is Aaron. Aaron, you got Whitney to come on. And she's a pianist. That's such a cool name to say. So how did you even get into that? And did you have to do a lot of lessons?
Okay.
Where do we start?
Right. So let's see, where do we start?
Where do we start?
Piano lessons growing up.
Okay.
My whole life.
And you loved those or did not love it? You did?
I did.
Okay.
I was one who practiced. I loved my teacher. I was in it for 10 years.
Yeah.
And we did classical music. We did a lot of reading music. And then when I was about 18, I started playing at church. And I said, okay, where's my sheet music? And they don't give you sheet
What's
music.
that?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when I had, a decent theory background. I did maybe one or two competitions growing up.
Okay.
And with that, you do have to have some writing and scale. You have to know the theory. But we just read music. She was very classically trained. And so then I began the whole journey of learning how to play from a lead sheet, learning how to accompany the worship team, that kind of thing.
Oh, man.
Wow.
So that was a whole different style.
Aaron and I are like, we are out of our element here.
No, this is like why it's so extra fascinating. I'm like, oh, I think I know what you're saying.
Right. Because if you think about traditional music, they have the book up there and all the notes are there.
Yeah.
And if you learn to read well, you can play every single note and you don't create anything.
Yep.
You take the information and you recreate that.
Right.
But when you're playing in any type of band, or whether it be like a worship type band or a band at the club, they don't give you the sheet music.
They sure don't.
You got to know the chords. You got to know when to play. You got to know when not to play.
So in my head, it's when you're watching a movie and they're like, people are sitting around and start playing, get something going, and then they see the guitar starting going along with it. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, see, I'm so musical.
We're staying with us. Yeah, we're staying with poor Whitney. Miss Whitney. Okay, first off, if you're the first time listener to the show, why in the world are you listening? One, it's because of Whitney, and she's that cool.
Yeah.
But Aaron and I are financial advisors, like to help people invest in themselves. The reason why we wanted you on the show today is because you've done that. You've taken a passion of yours and you've created a business, and you can pay the bills with your passion. Holy cow. That is something that not a lot of people, one, have enough, gumption to do, risk tolerance, but also tenacity to do it. Mm-hmm. So in 2007, this is not what you were doing for a full-time gig. What were you doing then?
Out of college, I worked corporate. I did Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
I worked for a logistics company. And I always taught piano on the side to supplement. And then my mom is also a piano teacher, and so she has been a big part of. Well, she didn't teach me, but we are essentially now colleagues in a way because we talk all the time, and so she has taught my whole life. And when in 2007, I had stumbled on a new method, and it was very different. It was no reading at all, where there were just these patterns on the page that had nothing to do with music. and we taught kids how to play songs with zero music based on patterns. And this is so random, but the Des Moines Register did an article on me in 2006, 2007. And it was first in Juice. Do you guys remember Juice?
Oh, I remember Juice.
Oh, I loved
Whitney,
Juice.
I'm with you. You keep going. This is amazing.
So Juice was for the
hipster.
Yeah, the 20s,
come on.
20s and 30s.
Yep.
And it might be before your time.
It was.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not me,
so
Whitney.
sad.
I'm right with you.
Oh, okay, thank you. So Juice came out, and it was all about like what was going on in Des Moines, and it was activities.
The who's who.
The who's who.
Yep.
And so
Of course you are.
I got a little page in Juice, and nothing happened. Well, what they didn't tell me is that the Register could possibly pick it up as well. And I think this was like 2006. I actually have I meant to bring the article.
You
Now that I
should have
think
brought the article.
it's framed. So back
So
in
good.
this time, internet, it wasn't what it is, right? There was no social. Well, I
Right.
don't know. Maybe
It was
MySpace.
it was the newspaper
Yeah, it was the newspaper.
and Juice.
It mattered.
Yeah.
It mattered. And so then I woke up one morning and someone messaged me and they said, "You're on the front page of the Des Moines Register."
Oh my goodness, Whitney. I want your autograph. This is so good.
At the time, I had 30 students. And so that's
a pretty significant.
a great amount.
For a part-time gig,
Right.
by the way.
Right.
Supplement what?
Exactly. So I was happy with it and it was going well. And after that article came out, I went from 30 to 90.
Oh, wow.
Oh my goodness.
And I quit Wells Fargo.
Yeah, you did.
And so
And that was a hard decision.
Right. So
Okay.
yeah, so that started my first full-time teaching experience, I guess. And I did that I'm from Ankeny, so I did that in Ankeny. And then I stumbled into dueling pianos while I was doing that. But here, there's no place that you can do it full-time. In Des Moines, there is not a full-time. You can learn the gig, work the gig, pay your bills.
Yeah.
But there are clubs around the world
That you can.
that you can.
If you're good. Let me
you're
just say that,
good.
right?
Yeah.
And so I dabbled in it here. And then I found a place in Branson, Missouri.
Oh, yeah, you did. You kind of look like you could totally rock the Branson, Missouri.
Gosh.
Like, yeah, I like it.
Oh, okay. All right. So I went down there and auditioned, and I was not good, but he was willing to take a chance.
Sure.
And he trained me. This was they called it the entertainment director. The entertainment director at that particular club, which was called Ernie Biggs. They took a chance, and I moved to Branson, and turns out Branson is not my jam.
It's not.
It is not. So
Okay.
I spent about a year there.
What part of it's not your jam?
Oh, man.
I was your jam because I was awesome.
It's it's a small town. At the time, there were like 1 million tourists a year. It's just
Okay.
some crazy high number.
Right.
That could be exaggerating. But a lot of people come through, but maybe 10,000 people live there.
Right.
And so it's a small town, but it's a heavy tourist town.
Right.
It was okay.
Right.
But then
It's a whole nother feel.
It's a whole nother feel. We were less than 10 minutes from Arkansas. Just a different vibe. Mm-hmm. And so then there was a spot in Kansas City that opened up. And
Now we're
I
talking.
moved there, and that was great because then instead of being 6 hours from home, I was 3.
Yeah.
And I love Kansas City's great.
It really is.
So I did a year at a club there, and then I did.
How was the learning curve, by the way? Let's go back to Branson.
Horrible.
Why? I mean, I can only imagine. I have no idea what to do, but
So, with dueling pianos, you essentially want to be able to know or fake any song because we are making a large part of our money from the tips and the song requests.
Yeah.
So
Right.
you want, and also the demographic of Branson was such that it was a slightly older crowd, and so that meant older requests.
Yeah. Right.
And so just learning the songs, learning the gig. It takes months, takes years to get comfortable. Right. And that was just piano. At that particular club, I only played piano. And that was maybe even a good thing because I'm confident in my piano playing ability.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people will start this gig and don't really play the piano. They might be trained singers. Or they might be more entertainers.
Right.
I came with really strong piano skills. Whereas when I moved to the other clubs, then I learned drums and bass, and then you
Right.
start to jump on the other instruments and things like that. But
I feel like I'm totally Kaiboing this, but because poor Aaron has a lot of questions. But what did
I'm
you do
just
with the
enjoying
90?
this.
What did you do with the 90 people that you were teaching piano?
okay, right. So I taught for a few years, and then I actually I moved to Branson in April, and I transitioned them to my mom's studio because we would co-teach. We had our separate studios, but we would co-teach as well, and so it was a really natural transition. We're very similar, real easy. And then those who wanted to continue in the fall did.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they finished out that school year with her, April, May, and then also when I moved to Branson, I thought, well, I'm going to try this. I signed a 3-month lease, and I thought, well, if we'll try the summer,
That's actually smart.
and maybe we'll be back. And then I realized 3 months is not enough time. So
To really fully engage. Did your mom pay you for those clients, or just handle them?
I just gave them to her.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. This is all questions I have. Okay. So, question that I have. You're back in. No, here's a random question. Are you
Okay.
ready for this?
Yes.
Off the wall.
Okay.
What is your karaoke song? Like, if you're going to go up to the
man.
karaoke, what is your song, Whitney?
I have to be honest, I avoid karaoke now.
I don't care if you're a good singer. I'm just saying, like, if you had to and nobody was there, it's in your own confines of your own house, what would it be?
One of the biggest crowd pleasers is always I Love Rock and Roll by Joan Jett.
Oh, yeah. That would be a good one. Okay.
People just love it.
I think instead of bios, we should just ask that question. You could tell a lot about a person. Okay, perfect. All right, so now you're back into it. Sorry for that brief hiatus. You did Branson, then you're in Kansas City.
Yep.
It's going well. And then what?
So in Kansas City, I worked for a club called Howl at the Moon. I don't know if that would be anything you'd be
Not
familiar
me,
with it.
but
It's the
I'm
largest.
sure it's prestigious.
It's the largest dueling piano chain probably in the world, really. And then there are 4 Norwegian cruise line ships that have what's called a Howl at the Moon show.
Wow.
It's really just the name, but Howl's in Chicago. It's all over the U.S. And so I was at Howl at the Moon in Kansas City, and then I got the opportunity to go down to Orlando. So I did 2 years in Orlando at Howl at the Moon.
Wow.
And that was, you look like that was a fond experience.
That was a great move.
Yeah.
Really excellent talent down there. Awesome people. It was good. And it was, it's like Branson, but on steroids.
Yeah.
Because it's
Without
your
the old people.
tourists.
Yeah.
But already a way bigger city, lots to do. Florida, hot, nice weather.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
This is fascinating. to me.
Yeah. I don't even know where to start with the questions because this is such a different world. What do you think one of the biggest time frames that when you're going down this journey that was like, yes, I want, because it had to be hard to learn, like you mentioned. But when was there a defining moment where you're like, yes, I love this and I'm all in?
Oh, that's a great question. No.
All right.
It just kept working.
Yeah.
And as I got better, then the confidence did grow. But there's not one day that you're like, oh, I'm really good now.
Okay.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
It just, I loved it. And I typically, like, before that, I would have probably considered myself, well, I'm very introverted. I can be on the quiet side. I can be on the soft spot. I'm an Enneagram 9 for anybody who's into that.
That is totally my wife. You
Yeah?
just want to please everybody.
Yes.
Avoid confrontation at all costs.
You want to minimize yourself. You want to hang out in the corner. And so when I wanted to try this, I wanted to see if I could essentially run a room, control a room, not in a weird way, but in a just,
entertainment way.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you have to command them. You tell them when to sing. You tell them what actions to do, how to participate. When you bring people up on stage for celebrations, you're in.
Yeah.
So I thought, can I do that? Is that even a part of my makeup?
But it is, and it's so fascinating because as you describe yourself, you would think to do what you're...
Well, personality-wise, that's got to be kind of scary.
Yeah.
For
Definitely.
9. Mm-hmm. And you figured it out.
Yeah.
I guess.
I like it. That's awesome. I'm taking notes like crazy. Let's talk about your faith in all this, because I feel like it's been strong. So tell me about that. kind of journey of your faith through your journey of your career. And we haven't even got to the part where you're here yet. So sorry we're taking a little longer in your past, but I feel like it's fascinating.
Fun,
I'm game. So, gosh, we grew up, we did a little time in Pentecostal. So we did some Assembly of God.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Holy Spirit.
Powerful. He was there. And then some Baptists. We did Baptist for a while. Yeah.
Okay.
And since then, non-denominational.
Okay.
And I'll jump ahead a little, but when I left Orlando and I moved home, what that meant was I no longer had a home club, and home would be Des Moines. Mm-hmm. And so once I got back here, it got trickier because I was on the road every weekend. Mm-hmm. And so I have spent some time playing and being a part of some of the local churches in the area, one in Ankeny a while back, and one kind of in the Beaverdale area. But other than that, it's always been an integral and huge part of my life, but the consistency in attendance has been really tricky on the road.
Yeah, totally.
Longer contracts on cruises. And so Bible studies, things that I can do when I am in town that are shorter have been my goal. Mm-hmm. And now that I'm here essentially all the time, I gig maybe once a month now, so it's low. But since I've been back, I've mostly been at a church in Johnston.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Back
So
to Florida.
We're back in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay.
So where are we going from Florida now? We did that.
Well, cruise ships, I bet.
Yeah.
You're going to cruise ships?
Yes. So when you work at a club that you are an employee of, they need you there all the time, right?
To do whatever
you
need to do.
Yeah.
In some of them, you are actually W-2 status. Okay. And so, you have to ask for time off. You have to go to rehearsal. You are playing with the same group of people all the time. So the positives of that are you can get really tight with your
people.
with your people, both musically. You can work up amazing band songs because you'll have some 5 instruments going. You can work on your parts and you can work on your harmonies, and then of course just the relationships, and then you get to sleep at home every night. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, right?
And the downsides,
right? And so then the downsides are you are an employee. And so I hit a point in the spring of 2009 2013, where I said I'm ready to do more. And I also had the opportunity to do a contract in Switzerland, and they Howl at the Moon let me go. And I did that, and I thought, I'm out.
Yeah. This is,
Yeah.
Whitney's gone.
I'm gone.
Peace
I immediately
out.
booked another Swiss contract, and oddly enough, you cannot do Howl at the Moon cruise contracts if you work at Howl at the Moon.
Very weird.
Right, because any of the Howl at the Moon cruise players, it's all 1099.
You're your
contractor.
own business, right?
Yep. And so I thought I want to play with more people. The more people you play with, honestly, the better you can get.
Okay.
Yeah,
because the challenge is real. You get into a rut with the same group. You know what songs they're probably going to start with. You know what jokes they're going to say. It becomes kind of routine.
Yeah.
But when you've never played with someone and they start the show, you're along for the ride. And so it's a whole different
feel.
Whole different ball game.
I bet the thrill is a lot more like it's just
Which one do you prefer?
There are perks to both.
Yeah, I bet.
I love freedom.
Yeah. Ad lib seems like your jam.
Okay.
So you're going on a cruise. How did that transition go?
Right.
You had to quit your job, but maybe it's because you're going to Switzerland. That was pretty easy to do.
They were very cool. We left on good terms. And the very first thing I did when I left was actually a short military tour in Japan. So I drove home from Florida to Iowa, and a couple days later flew to Tokyo. And then we did I think it was Air Force in Misawa. And I ended up being really, really sick. So it was actually horrible.
Oh, no.
It hurts a lot to fly, like your ears when you're...
Yes.
Yeah.
It was really painful. And then I was sick. So the shows were... The experience wasn't amazing because of that. Mm-hmm. But that is what kicked off my 1099 journey.
Yeah,
my
dude.
contractor journey.
Which is scary to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Especially driving, you're going to places that are, don't speak our language. And things
It's
like
interesting with your kind of high level. You were an employee doing a job that wasn't for Whitney. Then you jumped out and you did your own deal with 90 of your favorite little friends. And then you pulled back into a passion of yours, but as an employee.
Right.
And now you're pulling back into this world of, 1099, doing what you're doing. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just for my brain to let the
Yes.
listeners know how I'm thinking through this.
Yeah, and with that transition, I've lost track of which one that is. But now I am responsible for finding myself work.
Wow.
So now I have to connect and network and find places to go.
Still number 9. Still 9 on the Enneagram.
Yeah.
Right. And gosh, I don't even know how that all came together. I just started reaching out to players. They will often give you a chance. They'll let you come. And so then I ended up falling into mostly a Midwest rotation. I would go to Nebraska, Oklahoma. Actually, it was probably my favorite room. That's really not Midwest, but
It seems Midwest. Yeah.
it's not far. It's drivable. I flew, but I drove it many times too. It was about 8 hours.
Chicago,
So,
Madison. No?
Chicago has so many players, and Chicago rooms do not pay travel. So that's what you have to find. You have to find the rooms that pay travel.
Look at you.
And some pay driving travel, some pay airfare. And so you just find your people. And I found them. And then that was enough to keep me as booked as I wanted. And then I would do cruises as I wanted.
For sure.
So what's the difference in the atmosphere on a cruise to like in a club?
I'd rather do club. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
Yeah?
Oh, for sure.
Why?
Because they like willingly paid to be there, or like they did. Where a cruise, it's like, this is what we're going to do tonight.
Okay, fair.
That's me.
The only advantage of the cruise is they're in vacation mode.
Oh, they are going to get it.
yeah.
They don't have to drive home.
They don't have to drive home.
Yeah.
well played.
Oh, that's one of the jokes. That's one of the jokes on stage. You
Yeah.
don't have to drive, so let's do a toast.
Yeah.
Right? Wow. Yeah. So cruises from a performer standpoint can be isolating, lonely, monotonous.
Yeah.
You have to pay for very slow, expensive internet. So you're not streaming, you're not connected.
Yeah, you're isolated.
Yeah. And if you do it with players that you enjoy working with, it's a blast.
Okay.
But I have done it both ways.
Yeah.
And so it's just less enjoyable.
Yeah.
You're away from, and plus, with that, you're fully away. Someone needs to be checking on your animals. Someone needs to be taking care of your home.
Oh, man.
You're gone. Whereas with the other ones, it was often you would leave Thursday, come home Sunday.
Okay.
So you would get Sunday potentially to start your recovery.
Yeah.
And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then start it over again.
Wow.
Gotcha.
So-
did you ever track to like where you made more money either on a cruise or in clubs on average? I mean, I know it's probably differs to club and
It does vary club to club. With cruises, I think it's getting more and more this way every year, but people don't have cash on them necessarily like they do in a club. And even with COVID and all of the changes that have happened lately, people are doing Venmo now. You put a table, what are those called? A table tent out with your Venmo code, and people scan it and they can pay you that way, which is crazy. And in my day, we didn't really do that as much because it's cash.
Yeah, there it is. Which is kind of nice too, for other reasons.
Yeah.
For other reasons.
Okay, so cruises quick, small, close quarters. You're sleeping in really weird. You don't have a balcony. It's,
No.
You're really tight.
You do have a porthole,
that's
which is helpful
probably just for
you
you
can see light.
You're talented. Some people don't have that.
We were guest entertainers, so we did get
you
it.
did.
Yeah.
And then usually every person on a cruise ship has a secondary job.
Oh, you mean like staff?
Yeah, or like if things go south, this is what we need you to do, Whitney.
Yes.
What was your job?
We were guest entertainers.
So you just like, hey, everything's fine. The ship's on fire. We're good.
We did have to do weekly drills.
Okay. Right.
So once a week, you have to go stand in a room for a couple hours with a life jacket.
Okay.
And then you have to go outside, and that apparently taught us what we needed to know.
Okay.
Totally equipped to help everybody. Anything ever go south on a ship?
The worst ship contract was when there was so illness spreads really quickly on a ship, and there was a gastro outbreak. So gastro issues are very, very serious.
Yeah.
And you are it's mandated that you report them if you have them. That's how serious it is. And this particular cruise was a 2-week voyage, which meant our average age was a little bit higher because those that are taking 2-week trips are not always working parents and families. So it's a little bit older demographic. And I don't know if that's why, but this has never happened on any of the other ships. It was like a precursor for us to COVID because we had to isolate for 19 days. Whoa. So we had to sit in our cabin for 19 days and we were allowed to come out for our show. So we have 4 shows a week. We were allowed to go to our stage and do our show for four shows a week. They took away all of our other privileges. We were no longer allowed to eat. We were no longer allowed to be anywhere on the ship. So we had to go to crew mess to eat, which we had never been to crew mess before. And, granted, that's where everyone eat. A lot of people eat, and that's fine. It was just a different experience.
But you're an entertainer.
I mean,
I'm Whitney, okay?
I will be totally honest and tell you that not one player that I work with would take a contract if it was those parameters.
For sure.
We just wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's already a lot.
Hard enough.
To do the crime. I mean, there's great things. You see great places. You get to do amazing things. There's trade-offs, though.
Yeah.
And so those 19, our mental health, I watched, and there's the TV shows are on loop. So there might be 4 episodes of one show that just loop.
So
there's
tap me out.
Certain seasons of like Downton Abbey where I've seen those 4 episodes 8 times. And then you could rent DVDs. You could borrow DVDs. No, those were actually free. You could go check them out from the DVD library. So you could get different things. But you can read, you can practice. And then they would let us out on some of the port days. During the
basically, you're in prison.
It felt like that
during a quarantine. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go back because I have so many questions, and we're just gonna stop them and we're gonna keep moving on.
Okay.
So you're now in Switzerland, and then you went to the cruise, and then now where are you at?
It just depends on the month. I ended up taking 4 contracts in Switzerland. And that is such a roundabout
recently
thing. No.
Okay.
No, they. I don't know that they're bringing Americans in much anymore. Well, since COVID, I don't know at all, to be honest.
Things.
But I was a French major in college, accidentally, not on purpose.
Sounds about right.
You accidentally do that.
She's a 9. She's not going to confront anybody. No. Just like we're going for it.
And I didn't want to make a decision, and I didn't want to spend any more money on an undergraduate degree when I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Wise.
So I was in France for a year in college, my junior year, and that and all my other courses got me enough credits to be a French major. And my advisor said, well, you have a French degree. And I said, you know what? I'll take it. And then I was done. And so there's a small portion of Switzerland that is French speaking.
Okay.
And so when I did those Swiss contracts, I was able to just be in the French the French culture of Switzerland. I was able to go over to France and see friends. I was able to do part of the show in French. And so it was like the most full circle thing because I never would have imagined making any money in music or using French. And then now here I am doing both. Super random.
Where'd you go? Where'd you get your French degree?
Iowa State.
Yes.
ISU. Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Okay, so then you come back and now you find yourself in Iowa. Is there any other career things that we need to talk about before you got to Iowa? Or
no.
You're back. So COVID kind of halted things.
Yes. So 2013, I moved back, traveled for 7 years, almost 7 years.
Wow.
And was really honestly ready to transition out anyway. the late nights, it's hard. You would have 5 a.m. flights after finishing a show at 2 a.m.
Wow.
And, you know, you're maybe by Tuesday you start to feel normal, and then you leave Thursday, and it just
takes a toll.
It takes a toll, and everything about it is not condoning, but like you do your best to live a healthy lifestyle, but then
it's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable, and then you're starving because you are low on sleep, and so then you're eating in the airport and you're making bad choices.
Yeah.
And so you're underhydrated, you're potentially not eating well, you may not be working out. And I never really wanted to commit a lot to a gym membership, because if you're gone more than 50% of the time,
what's the point?
Right.
Yeah.
So it just was time.
Yeah.
It was time.
Okay.
And I had taught piano part-time. Once I moved back, I started teaching again like in 2017, but then I had a couple longer cruise contracts. So then I took a year off, and then bam, COVID. And everything is shut down, obviously. And so it was a year of hodgepodge cleaning, and I found an office that I could work in. I started going to homes, and that's where I met this guy.
Yeah. She like came into our home in Catalina.
Man, you're a hustler.
Yeah.
And didn't want to go back to like an employee
No.
because you're too talented. And you've seen it work.
Right.
Yeah.
I couldn't go back.
Yeah.
It proves that statement. Once you take that leap, you don't go back.
You should go uncommon.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I'm a gypsy, and I want the freedom. And I also have done Airbnb since 2014. And so that was supplementing my income. And I purchased a duplex in 2016.
Oh, good.
So that really helped in COVID too. I was able to rent out, honestly, both sides. I just kind of kicked myself out of my own house. And
Kindred spirits.
That's crazy.
Whitney? Kindred spirits.
so I hustled hard for the first couple years. I didn't live in my house much at all.
Wow.
I just stayed with friends, or I was on the road. And I actually just shut that down about a year and a half ago. I said, you are no longer allowed to kick yourself out of your house.
Right.
I would actually set up a futon at my studio and spent nights at my studio and showered at Planet Fitness just to get things off the ground. And Airbnb, man, they say, hey, can we book? And you're like,
It's hard to say no.
Sure.
Whitney,
and then the money just comes in.
Whitney, I'm hearing what you're saying.
So
this is a while back. We were counseling 2 people. They were newly married. They're like, we want to get into rentals. And I was like, okay. And they're like, but we can't. Like, we have no money. And I was like, why don't you rent out your own house? And they're like, no, you can't really do that. Like, I was like, well, you could. Anyway, so I came home and I was like, I don't know if it was that day, but it was soon after that meeting. And I was like, hey, would we ever do this to my wife? And she was like, okay, but we're doing it my way if we do it. Which meant that she's going to buy all new,
Beautiful.
Yep. Comforters and sheets and like, anyway, so we've done it and you have no idea. Like,
So you know.
I know what you're saying. Whitney, I'm like, you and I, kindred spirits. Okay.
So yeah, I guess having all these little
Breadcrumbs.
pockets of income,
Breadcrumbs, yep.
I just thought, I know that wouldn't work for me anymore.
It's hard. It's hard. We don't need to go into it because that's not about the show, but it's just hard getting your house in order as well as trying to figure out everything else. Like, so although that money might be good, you've got to think about the sacrifices you're making in order to get that money. And is it worth it?
Right.
You decided no more. Okay.
But I want to highlight the grind. Like the grind you had to go through to get this back up and running. And then you went through it.
The current studio now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you were Airbnb-ing, you were sleeping in your studio, traveling.
I remember seeing you at the Des Moines Home and Garden Show.
Yeah.
And you were like asking questions about the booth. And I don't know if you thought this, but maybe it's like, is this worth it?
Yeah,
and
no,
because I thought that, but I did it anyway.
Yeah.
I got a booth at the Des Moines Home and Garden Show, which is like where people go to
play piano.
No, this was now to promote. I'm kind of jumping ahead. This is now to promote the studio.
Yeah.
Okay. Studio of the pianist.
Yes.
Okay.
Of the current business.
Okay, that which is Bloom Music
Yes.
Studio.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, thanks. I'm there.
Yeah, no, exactly. You read right. Like that's because we have to get up and running and do those things, and I did like stuff like that, and for me, nothing came from it. But
the hustle.
Yeah, but I'm just loving the hustle. I love the hustle stories.
I know for sure I got 2 students from that.
Sweet.
So at the very least, actually it would be more than break even, because one is still there, and one was really little, and she did a year, and now she was 3, and so I think she'll probably be back.
Oh, awesome.
And so technically it was worth it. Would I do it again? No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of those things in the first.
You got to do something. You got to try something. And it feels better to try something even if it doesn't work, because then you feel like you're doing it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm right there. Okay.
We went to farmers markets.
Wow.
I'm trying to think of where all and what I loved about that is it gave the students a chance to come play. So it became a performance opportunity
Commercial.
for them.
For everyone.
Yeah.
And they're like in a real environment,
Doing
people
it.
are walking by.
Yeah.
So
I know it's fun because nobody would be there, and then they start playing, and people just stop to watch.
'Cause she played?
Yeah. Elena did play. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
great.
tell me where you're at now. You do Bloom Music Studio, and this is the new Whitney Maxwell.
This is it.
This is it.
Yeah.
It is, my whole personality is this now.
Okay.
Gosh, so I signed the lease in December of 2020, and I opened January 19th of 2021. And today, I think we have 200 students this month.
Holy cow.
And we have 4 other teachers. And it's just,
Amazing.
yeah.
Is your mom still?
She moved.
No. Don't do that to me.
Deserted me.
Gosh.
She came back a couple of weeks ago for my birthday, and she asked what I wanted, and I said, I want you to co-teach with me. And so
I want you to move back, actually.
Right. She knows that. That would be the number one present. But she came in for a night and co-taught with me, and it was awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's
Whitney,
in the
that's great.
Chicago area now. She's teaching out there. But yeah.
Wonderful.
Well, what are the biggest things because you're hiring people then? Mm-hmm. So what different difficulties have you had? Because you've always kind of been your own boss and stuff. Now you're managing people.
It's a whole different world.
It is a whole different
For
world.
number 9. I feel you, number 9, because I have a wife that's a number 9, so I have to see different things through her eyes.
Yeah.
So this is not your...
That was not part of my dream.
Yeah.
And it's been a huge learning curve for me.
Yeah, growth area.
The growth area, character development. The ones that I have are so fantastic, and I feel really grateful to have them. And it's good to just learn how to manage people and take conflict head on, and create really strong boundaries and create cohesiveness. It's been a journey. Yeah. And my options really were raise my prices and stay me.
Yeah.
Or bring people on to take. And, I think in some areas, coaches and things like that, you can charge thousands. You
Sure
can.
Right.
And you could do that in this too. Realistically, you're not going to charge $500.
You can't really if you want to be uncommon.
Right.
Because you just want to impact people. Right? Like you want to bless other people with the gift that you have. And in order to do that, you have to get out of your comfort zone.
Right.
So good that you did that. Of course you did that.
Yeah.
It makes sense. But it does challenge you to stretch yourself in ways you never thought you would be able to do it.
Definitely.
Because you're unique. I mean, I know I am not musical. I know my wife's a little more musical, so you guys can have your guys' talks. But I know when you were coming over to our house during the pandemic to help teach Elena, you guys got into conversations about disabilities and learning and all those and how the brain works. So you really get into it. It's not just like a piano lesson. Like you're helping combat other things while teaching piano.
You're a life coach. You're a pretend psychologist. You're a cheerleader. Yeah.
You're all of that.
You're all that.
Yeah. Which is phenomenal and amazing. When you think about it, 'cause I'm not musical at all. I am I can't read music. So it's not my strength, and it never will be, but that's okay. But it's so cool to see that come from that side, because for me, I'm looking at the athlete side.
Right.
And it makes such sense there. And when I see the musical side, I'm like, no, like beforehand, but then you start seeing, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like, it is just like that. And maybe even a little bit better.
It's the reason why people put their kids in Taekwondo. Because it's not about Taekwondo. You're not going to use it to, you're not going to break boards.
No.
But what you are going to use it for is a confidence builder, a discipline. Yep. And all the other ancillary things that you get. And here's the deal. At the end of the day, it's the dojo. It's the person that's pouring into them is what you're really going after to make sure that you're doing the right thing. So you're perfect. You've hit your stride. You've followed the breadcrumbs to where you're at now. And I would say that you utilize not only your passions, but your experiences to craft where you are now. Man, this has been a hugely enjoyable interview for me. Yeah, nailed it. Knocked it out of the park. Okay, how do our listeners hear more about Bloom Music Studio, about you, Whitney Maxwell?
Well, they can always go to our website.
Okay.
www.bloommusicstudio.com.
Okay.
And then our socials, where we do Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. And my only goal right now with socials is just having fun.
Good.
I enjoy your TikToks.
They're silly, they're goofy. People reach out and say, I enjoy seeing these, and they're not looking for piano. And just kind of looking to bring lightheartedness into it and not be serious and try to make, a piano student for 10 years.
Right.
We hope they do that, but we want music to be whatever part of their journey it is. We want to be a part of that with them and make it joyful and kind of eradicate some of the stereotypes of learning music growing up for us. And kind of in our generation, it was, it might have been with a little old lady. And
Mrs. Sheltanis, I'll just tell you.
Oh my gosh, no way.
Oh yeah, that's mine.
No.
Yeah, it was the devil. That's why I don't.
Oh my goodness.
You know her?
Wow, this is awesome. Small world.
So good.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I'm totally going to send this to my mom.
We're trying to reframe it. We're trying to create a new environment, make it fun, make it enjoyable, make it engaging.
Yeah.
Have them learn through play and not just a serious, structured 30 minutes that's just you and the teacher.
Yeah, that's good.
That was a big tangent. I don't know.
Yeah.
No,
that was great.
Tangents are our middle name. How many students would you like to impact? Like, what is your kind of goal?
Oh, that's
or
a great
do you just
question.
not know? Like, I'm just the next student. I'm going to give my best.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right now in our current space, it's starting to feel cramped. And so I guess at this point we're looking at, do we want to stay where we are and status quo, or do we want to take it to the next level? And that is unanswerable right now, because that would involve a lot of big changes. It would involve a move, more equipment, making sure we have great staff.
It's a whole world.
It's a whole world.
Yeah.
So TBD.
Yeah, good. Whitney Maxwell, you are a pleasure. Thank you so much.
That's all for this episode, brought to you by Uncommon Wealth Partners. Be sure to visit uncommonwealth.com to learn more about our services. Don't miss an episode as we introduce you to inspiring people who are actively pursuing an uncommon life.